Hi, Trojans. So, we are going to continue our series on 10 tips for student centered learning in any classroom. So far, we've looked at making time for play and student voice and looking at student talk time. So, you can rewatch any of those on my YouTube channel. You can find them as part of our series for this. So, today we're going to talk about student choice and why it's really important for student centered learning. For one, student choice kind of puts students in the driver's seat so they can kind of choose how they best want to display their knowledge or how which questions they kind of want to go towards, and it really kind of puts them in charge of their own learning a little bit more. So there's a couple examples that I have on these slides. So the first one is a pretty simple one, is just playlists that I have as kind of like free time in my classroom. We don't have a whole lot of that, but when I want to have students have some flexibility, we had advisory periods, there were some days where I would have them, if especially if it was a short advisory lesson that day, have them kind of really focus in on their what they would like to do. So looking at study habits, which has just a collection of YouTube videos talking about study habits, some yoga and movement, relaxing music, mindful moment, which is kind of like meditations, and our Spotify playlist or YouTube playlist, which I have this year. So these, especially if students, like if you have a couple students that always finish early, have them look at, create some playlists that they can go towards, either YouTube playlist, or you can even add other things in there like coding exercises or things like that, um, as part of like kind of that free time play or free time exploration. The next one is our quick writes. So this was one that I had. There were so many good prompts, and I didn't know which one to pick. And I said, why not let the students pick? So I had them choose. I created it on No Reading, which is something the English department uses. If you would like to use it, let me know, and I'll make sure you get the premium access too. But here they could, each one of these boxes would link up to that direct prompt. So students had a choice between using the right language or responses to racial justice protests, or moving forward and having like solution based writing that they wanted to do. So I let them have the choice of their writing. And this really kind of let me to also see what topics students were really interested in, or, what subtopics students were interested in about some main topic. So allowing them a little bit of choice, especially if you're talking about a certain issue or a certain topic and you're not exactly sure which direction to go, or you want students to have the choice of which direction to go, these can be really helpful to have that. And then plus also, as kind of an English background here, then I'm not reading all of the same responses, and so I'm getting a little bit mixed. They're still practicing their writing, so it's a win-win for for everyone. The second, or this third choice here, is from a student project. And so they had to write an argumentative essay about a social issue that they saw. And so I think this was definitely in December, and we had already written a couple of essays. And I really just wanted to give students a choice of, besides writing just another essay. I gave them the choice of creating an app using Google Slides and just like linking up their different answers, or they could write the essay if they want to write the essay. Admittedly, most of my students that year chose the essay option, but it was really awesome to see the students that did choose creating an app, because they still had to have the same components in their app, but now it was kind of broken down and presented in a different format. And so a lot of students that chose that really liked that option. Admittedly, they kind of wrote more and did more work for it because they just got really involved in it. And so this is just another great option of giving them a choice of, if there's some flexibility, you can offer your assignments or ways that they can showcase all the components, but maybe not in the traditional format. I highly, highly recommend that. A couple of other choice boards, and your boards can be creative options, visual options, writing options, or content options, depending on what you're using it for. And so, like, one thing that we did last year in advisory was our treasure and trait tic-tac-toe. This does have a link directly into it, so make sure you look at the description below for it. But looking at, we had a quick amount of time where we wanted to kind of showcase responsible, respectful, and safe. And so having, instead of having them do little short snippets and then showcasing 3 in a row. So that's kind of a really great option too. I know an EP teacher at North High last year kind of did a tic-tac-toe option or different options. And she said immediately it was kind of like the same thing but in a different order. And so each they still were responsible for showing the same thing, but it was just in a different order of how they laid out the board, and the areas of how they wanted to do it. So these are definitely great options to kind of showcase student work or give them a little bit of choice and flexibility in it, or showcasing how and what they're displaying. So if you're having them do, like, maybe have a creative video and write an essay and whatever you want else to do, maybe they can create the video on the review and then write the essay on whatever topic. And then maybe they can change the order of that. And so they're still doing the same things, still being held responsible and accountable for showing the same skills. On this one here, I put in because it is my dad's, and he is a band teacher. And so he did this during distance learning of having a choice board for music and to showcase different things that they were working on, especially in distance learning, which was super challenging for music instructors. And so having this kind of showcasing the different ways, but allowing them to have the flexibility to showcase. And then this last choice here is I had this idea I've been playing with is a lot of times, like, the show what you know boards are really great, but it's a lot of like going back and forth for the teacher to see. So, show what you know, and you can have a choice of like creating an Adobe Spark video or creating a PowerPoint or creating a poster. And those are really great options to have students have some flexibility to show what they know, but you're having to constantly kind of go back and forth. So one way I kind of am thinking around this is to put this as a Google Classroom topic. And so that it's a show what you know, and then have them, so for your review, create one of these things that you haven't done before. So creating a flipped lesson or a podcast or social media post. And then that way, as a teacher, you're just having to check to see who turned it in and where. It's still not as like clumsy as just having the same assignment. Like, you're still having to go back and forth a little bit, but now it's all turned in all at once. It's a little bit easier for you to find. So it's just another way of organizing Google Classroom. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can set up these choice boards. So I've done these on Google Slides. I have these like linked out to like different Nearpods. One way that I will talk about a little bit further is looking at Google Slides and how to use Google Forms, and using depending on how they responded, giving that choice that will go to different areas. So using Google Forms as a choice board to learn about a topic and kind of write about the same things. So there's lots of different ways that you can kind of have students take ownership of the choice. And again, it could be creative options that you're having them do. So they have to review the same content, but they're given, to create a video or a podcast or a social media post. It could be those visual options, those writing options, or those content options. So just having that choice. And I'm going to talk a lot more about this when I talk about project-based learning. But choice can be so empowering for students. A lot of times I find when I give students the choice of what they're doing and what they're showcasing, they tend to put more work in it because they have buy-in and they're a little bit more passionate about whatever they're doing, versus if I just give them an assignment, they might get bored of it, or it's everybody's doing it, so there's not quite as much buy-in. So those student choices can be really super important to have students create a little bit more buy-in or a little bit more flexibility, which is what we want. We want students to be learning and showcasing the skills and demonstrating how they best learn. All right, if you have any questions, or if you want me to help you in your classroom or with your PLC, I'd be more than happy to help you set this up. Have a great day, Trojans.